Hi guys, welcome to this week's writing lesson. Today I'm going to be focusing on making your writing better. No, I think I've written up the blog post that I talked about last week, and I've written another one, but I want to kind of in a lively way, or in a live well, not really alive actually, it's like how can I describe it? Well, in a more, well, you're gonna basically see me edit some work that I did. I wrote it up and then I'm gonna put it through Grammarly, edit it. That's not gonna be the final version. I think I'll need to give it some days before I then get back to it and trim it some more. But I want to show you that process in a more like live way, rather than just doing it myself, cutting it and stuff like that, and you miss out some of the actual background stuff that happens. And then what I'm also just going to be, as I'm going along, if I think of something, I'm also going to give you some tips, and I might depending on time, I might get to look at some of your personal works, and also looking through trying to see how to improve kind of editing and refining the work. Now, one thing I don't want to do for you guys is correct everything, because I feel like that does not help anybody. If you give me a piece of work and I just go, this is the mistake, and I corrected it and I change everything for you, what I feel like is you never learn. And until you learn about your own mistakes and about what you're doing that's wrong, you're never going to improve, and your writing will stay the same. So I was going to do the correction last week, and then I thought to myself, is that really helping you? Will that really help you if I sit and I change everything? I'd rather you see how I do it. I'd rather you know the tricks and tips and you do it yourself than me do it for you, so that you can learn. And I really want to encourage you guys, if you improve your writing, even as a non-native English speaker, you can do so much with it. You can make so much content. There's websites such as Teachers Pay Teachers. You can post on YouTube. You can make your own blog post. You can even go and make podcasts and just share your ideas, your unique perspective of the world with everybody. But it really does start with being able to express yourself in spoken and in written form. And I think just in written form, it kind of brings all of your ideas together. You can edit it, and then you can go on and do so much. But if you don't put that effort in, if you don't get better at, correcting your work and getting better quality work, two things are going to happen. You can be that person that just, posts things anyways, but it has tons of mistakes. And one of those mistakes can really, if you wrote something and it's really bad, that can really affect your confidence. And then the other thing could be that you just never do anything. You never post. You never reach the wider audience. And I think it's a shame. I think it's good to share ideas. So that's why I'm doing it. So if you've been wondering, like, she said she's gonna correct our work, but she didn't, that's because I decided not to. Okay guys, so let's take a look again at the blog post. So talked about this last week, and I want to continue, because just doing something once is not going to be, the best, and it's not going to really help. But doing it over and over again, getting used to it, practicing it, you get so good at it. So remember, what we learned from last time was you need a catchy title, a hook with a bold statement, subheadings, you need to link out other people, so the resources that you use to help you write, if you have those, make sure that you mention them, because that would just build up relationship. And then you need a conclusion, and name it a conclusion. What else? So the title, 6 to 7 words. You can use Portent's content idea generator to help you, get your ideas out there. And I've been using this website. It really helps to build up the ideas quicker, and I've been kind of changing the titles, but it gives me a good base. So that's been really good. Again, if you've got trusted people around you, you can also try asking them for their opinions and stuff, and that would also be really helpful. Okay, and then yeah, some more advice on titles. Use adjectives, use numbers. Bold statement, as you know from last week, I struggled with the bold statement until I did you know, my way of like mental writing. So I used an existing blog post, looked at how they started, and I followed the tone, and I used some of their expressions as well to help me, and I thought that was really good. That was really helpful. I noticed that I was able to write a lot faster. So actually for my CNUE students, I'm going to be linking a video that I previously did on mental text. You can use that to help your students write better as well. I might put that video in the description below as well, so for anyone else who's watching, randomly happens to be watching this video, you can also take a look at that as well. Mental texts are really helpful to help you kind of write a bit faster and to just practice writing. Okay, and then for the body, just the advice that we were given from the video was use subheadings, because people these days do not have time to read long essays and long paragraphs. So subheadings, keep your sentences 5 to 6 sentences per paragraph. To be honest with you, I really struggled with that. I was like, I know that that's what Mr. Patel was like, you should do, but you'll see in a minute the blog post that I wrote recently. My paragraphs are so long, and I know I need to go in and cut them. Okay, again, link other people's websites as you go along. Use facts and data. That's something that I haven't done, but then I think once I've written it, or now that I've written it, I think that's the next step. Use you and I, and that I've been able to do. Photos as well, that I've been able to do, and the information has to be useful. I think the information that I've written is useful because it's personal experience, it's from what I've learned, and I just want to share it. And then title your conclusion. Summarize what you have talked about, reword your introduction, and finish with a question. I haven't been finishing with a question, and to be honest with you, I feel like when I'm first writing the blog post, I focus so much on the beginning that the conclusion kind of suffers, because by the time I get to the conclusion, I'm tired, y'all. I'm ready to be done with it. But that's something that maybe today I'm gonna try and focus on and try and improve a little bit better. So those are the tips and tricks. So let's take a look and see. So I'm here on Grammarly. I copied and pasted, no, actually I uploaded the file, and it's called A Foreigner's Guide to Weddings in Korea. I got married in Korea last October. So it's just been just over a year that I've been married. It's been a wonderful year, and I'm just really super happy. So I've literally, all I did, I followed the guidelines, I wrote down everything that I wanted to write, and then now I want to go through it, check it. And I'm not going to trim it down yet, because I don't think this is the time to trim it down, but I am going to focus on just on just getting it as well edited as possible. So let's go. I'm gonna be reading it out loud. Let me read it out loud once, and then let's go and follow the suggestions. And as you can see, there are many suggestions. Okay, A Foreigner's Guide to Weddings in Korea. When it comes to weddings in Korea, it seems like the only options you have are traditional or modern, in my experience. But what happens if you are not Korean? Is it cultural appropriation if you wear a hanbok? Does that mean you are stuck with the speedy wedding hall style wedding? What about the guests that come from far? Well, I'm here to... I don't really like that break. Okay, let's continue. Well, no, yeah, I don't really like that break. Well, I'm here to let you know it doesn't have to be that way. I got married in October last year, yes, during the pandemic, and I want to show you the perfect guide to planning your wedding in Korea. Okay, so we're going to take the hyphen suggestion, and remember, with all checking, or I guess grammar checkers, they are not always perfect. These are AIs, and they won't always know what you intend to do. So their suggestions are mostly correct, but sometimes they're not. So don't just go in, accept everything. Go with it slowly, and and take a look at it with kind of slowly. Don't just accept everything, because they might not fully understand what you're trying to say. Okay, now here, this is my introduction. It's too long. It's too long. I need to cut it down. How many sentences do you have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sentences. So I can take 2 away. So let me see. When it comes to weddings in Korea, it seems like the only option you have are traditional or modern, in my experience. But what happens if you're not Korean? Is it cultural appropriation if you wear a hanbok? Does that mean you're stuck with a speedy wedding hall? What about the guests that come from far? What if I did take out this? Although I like it, but what if I said it well, I'm here to let you know that it doesn't have to be that way. Okay, I'm gonna take this out, and I'm gonna say this. How about I say this? When it comes to weddings in Korea, it seems like the only options you have are traditional or modern. Let me read our new introduction. When it comes to weddings in Korea, it seems like the only options you have are traditional or modern. I got married in October last year, and I want to show you the perfect guide to planning your wedding in Korea. Okay. And I want to show you another way that is better than what's currently out there. Can I say that? When it comes to weddings in Korea, it seems like the only options you have are traditional or modern. I got married in October last year, and I want to show you another way than what's currently out there. Do I like it? Okay, even if I don't like it, I'm gonna leave it, and I'm gonna come back to it. Maybe I can ask a question. Or can I use a question? Yeah, I can use a question. Have you ever been to a wedding in Korea where you danced? Have you ever been to a wedding in Korea and you danced? When it comes to weddings in Korea, it seems like the only options you have are traditional or modern. I got married in October last year, and I want to show you another way than what's currently out there. And I want to show you the best way to celebrate your special day. Celebrate. Okay, the best way to celebrate your special day. Now, a good thing, I think, it's to sound confident. So I don't think that, my style of weddings is really the best way. But here, I am trying to prove to you, that this is the best way. So you just have to sound confident. And it might not be for everybody, that's okay. But if they're reading this guide, then it's the best way. Okay, so have you ever been to a wedding in Korea and you dance when it comes and you dance? When it comes to weddings, again, I'm using Korea too much. Maybe I can say, so far, it seems like the only options you have are traditional or modern, and there is definitely no dancing involved. Okay. Oops. No dancing involved. I got married in October last year, and I want to show you the best way to celebrate your special day. Celebrate your special day. Okay, that doesn't sound bad. How many sentences? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. We've got a bit of a long one, but it's 4. So, have you ever been to a wedding in Korea and danced? So far, it seems like the only so far it seems like the only options you have are traditional or modern. There is definitely no dancing involved. Are traditional or modern, there is definitely no dancing involved. I got married last year, and I want to show you the best way to celebrate your special day. Or maybe I'm here, and I'm here to show you the best way to celebrate your special day. Okay, we're gonna leave it at that. Next one. So I'm got my title, Do the Ceremony at a Wedding Hall. My husband and I wanted, so this is the long paragraph that I was talking about. Yeah, I just had so many things to say, and I didn't know which part exactly should I delete out and which part should I keep. I just wanted everything to be in, so it was really hard. So here's how I've written it. My husband and I wanted to do an outdoor wedding and thought we found the perfect venue. The host sold us a dream, and we quickly bought into it. I can talk about this in another blog altogether, and I think I will talk about it in another blog altogether. She promised us an Italian style, I've got so many hyphenated words that I did not hyphenate, garden wedding with speedboats and fairy lights, and we were in love. However, 2 weeks later, our dreams were dashed as the cracks in our promises began to show. Okay, I think, what does it say? It says it's a hard to read sentence, and a general audience might find this sentence hard to read. So, it gives suggestions, removing any unnecessary words, splitting it into 2 sentences. So let's see what we can do. At our first meeting, she suggested, maybe should we do at our first meeting? She suggested that since we are both foreigners, she would help us find decorators and caterers, because we didn't know anything about weddings. Actually, I can make that shorter. I can say, let me cut it. I can say, we didn't know anything about weddings, so she suggested different ways to help us. She even suggested, again, this is really good. So one of the mistakes that I've kept on kind of asking you guys to check was if you're using the same word repeatedly. In Grammarly, I'm using the Pro, by the way, so I'm paying for this because I do a lot of writing, a lot of proofreading, and it's one of the tools along the way that I use to do my proofreading and stuff, and it's really helpful. So you can pay for it if you do a lot of writing. I don't think you should pay for it if you don't do a lot of writing because it's kind of pricey. $30 a month. That's kind of pricey. Grammarly, how about we, do a little discount for us? But yeah, anyways, so it helps to, give you advice, which is really good, and suggestions, which is very, very good. So we didn't know anything about weddings, so she suggested different ways to help us. She even said that she could help with finding the wedding dress. She insisted that she just wanted to help us and give us the wedding of our dreams. But at our next meeting, her story had changed. She no longer wanted to help and didn't seem to recall the promises she had voluntarily made. And this is a true story. So again, another hard to read sentence, so we'll break it down. But yeah, this lady who, is the owner of a very, apparently, according to her, very popular pension in somewhere between Hwacheon and Chuncheon, and she was like, many celebrities go there, and in fact BTS shot one of their videos for I think one of their shows there. So she was like, man, it's the place to be. And so me and my husband were like, oh my gosh, it looks so beautiful. It fulfills like all of our dreams. We want a long wedding. We don't just want a short, wedding hall style wedding. We want a whole day event, our friends to relax. We just want to use the venue and not have to worry about neighbors or anything like that. She said all of that is possible and more. We bought into her words. But then she just started to change everything, and she just started to be like, did I said I would help you? When did I say I would help you? And then we were just like, what are we going to do? We don't know nothing about weddings. We don't know nothing about how to plan a wedding in Korea. I'm like, I don't even speak Korean properly. I just can't do anything. So it was a really stressful time, especially for my husband, because a lot of it fell on him because he's fluent in Korean, whereas I'm not. And then for me, I was just like, being a university professor is already stressful enough as it is. I'm out. I tapped out. So let's see. To make things worse, friends, colleagues kept accepting our invitations to the wedding, which would normally be good, except that we could only host 90 people max. So let's say we're gonna make this a sentence. We could only host 90 people max, but everyone kept accepting our invitations. Okay. So we could only host 90 people max, or we can say what was worse. We could only host 90 people max, but everyone kept accepting our invitations. We kept going back and forth with the host, checking if okay, we can change it around. We kept going back and forth with the host, checking if the number of people would fit the venue, whether the parking would work, and if it rained, did we have a plan? Okay, let's see what we can do about that. We didn't know anything about weddings, so she suggested different ways to help us. She even said that she could help with finding the wedding dress. She insisted that she wanted to help us and give us the wedding of our dreams. But at our next meeting, her story changed. She no longer wanted to help and didn't seem to recall the promises she had voluntarily made. What was worse, we could only host 90 people max, but everyone kept accepting our invitations, and we had invited over 100 people. Okay, we could say still everyone kept accepting our invitations, and we had invited over 100 people. We kept going back and forth with the host. We kept going back and forth with the host concerning the guest numbers. With the host concerning guest numbers, whether the parking would work, and if it rained, and what would happen if it rained. To which she was like, y'all, I'm gonna try, but I can't promise anything. Now, if you're getting married, you don't want somebody to tell you, I am going to try. No, you want somebody to say, this is what I did. And so whenever we would meet her, we would be like, so how's the planning going? Do you have any suggestions for us? Because what she had told us is that I will research and I will get back to you guys. So we were like, cool. We were actually chilling. I was continuing with work. My husband was also continuing with his work. We were just like, yay, everything is working out. And then when we would meet her, she would be like, what do you mean I said I would help you? It was so, and then we asked her about parking, because the venue is nice, but the street is so narrow. And on one side you have like not farmland, but you have like a garden area where they've planted lots of vegetables. And on this side you have the pension, and then you have like the river. And so it's just like, where are the people gonna park? If we invite 100 people and all of the 100 people come with 100 cars, can 100 cars fit? And she was like, well, BTS did it. They had like 44 cars and they parked. So my husband was like, so where's the parking? Or how did they park? Can you give us some clues? And this lady just kept on saying, it will work out. But we were like, but how? We just couldn't see how it would work out. The street is so narrow that only one car can kind of pass through. We were like, should we get a bus? But will the bus fit? Where would the bus be parked? We were so stressed out. And sadly, our stress, we kind of started to put that stress on her, which she was just like, no, I'm not. This is not my wedding. I did not pay for this. So she was just like, I'm not going to help you guys anymore. It was so stressful. Needless to say, she grew tired of us and decided to stop communicating with us. At which point we decided to take things into our own hands. Well, it was just my husband. I was useless because I couldn't communicate or search for things. So again, things is repeated, so it's giving me suggestions. Or search for items in Korean. So he literally did everything. Another thing that you will notice about my writing is I use words such as really, literally, basically, which the grammar checker would tell you you don't need that. Saying I really like, the grammar checker would just say, why don't you just say I like? You don't need really. It's a redundant word. But I want to write how I express myself, so I decide to keep it. It's not highlighting it, but at times you will see that it's highlighted. So sometimes if it's the way that you want to express yourself, then feel free to do that. A week before the wedding, not much had been done. We were worried about how to manage the COVID requirements as well as get everyone to the venue. That's another thing. Actually, two things I want to mention. The lady is not a bad lady. She just was terrible at helping us. And we would recommend her venue because it was a lot of fun. The other thing is that a lot of our guests were foreigners. And unlike Koreans, I feel my time in Korea, I feel like Koreans, if you say to a Korean, do A, B, and C. A Korean will do A, B, and C. No problem, just they will follow. But when it comes to foreigners, you don't know if they'll follow or they'll not follow. Not to say that all foreigners are like that, but there's just that much more of a stress of Will they actually follow the rules? Will people actually take their temperatures? Will they listen? Will they keep social distancing? How can we keep social distancing? This venue cannot host more than 100 people. It was so stressful. Trying to figure out every single detail was so stressful. Super, super duper stressful. So this brings us to this part. Let me bring it down. A week before the wedding, not much had been done. We were worried about how to manage the COVID requirements as well as get everyone to the venue. Sadly, we had to pull the plug on our dream and go for a wedding hall style wedding. A wedding hall style wedding. And go for a wedding hall. I think I'm going to do wedding hall style wedding. Here again, difficult sentence. So I seem to just have really hard to read sentences, and I'm thankful for Grammarly for pointing that out. Unlike our pension host, I'm going to put a comma, the wedding hall had a list of decorators. Menu list, and processes that were easy to follow. Good. Unlike our pension host, the wedding hall had a list of decorators, menu lists, and processes that were easy to follow. And it was at this point that I realized the huge benefit of actually having a wedding at a wedding hall. Like, they are professionals for this, and I had so much more respect for all the brides and grooms of the Korean world who choose that way, because they just deal with everything for you. It was like so stressless. Like we were like, what? Like they already have trusted people that they've worked with for ages. The food, we didn't have to worry about the caterers, we didn't have to worry about the rain because they had a plan B. So it was just so easy, it was so convenient. And me and my husband were like, that's why Korean people use wedding halls. They were able to get us on the right track within a week, and we didn't have to. Okay. So here they always want you to be speaking actively and not passively. And if you can say something in one word instead of 3 or 2, it will give you that suggestion as well. So they could get us on the right track within a week, and we didn't have to worry. They could get us on the right track within a week. Here I'm being inconsistent because I've been talking past tense, but here I'm using get, so I need to change it to got. They got us on the right track within a week, and we didn't have to worry about anything except to enjoy our special day. So I highly recommend doing the ceremony at a wedding hall because they take care of everything, and you can focus on yourself and your spouse to be. Now here I've stepped out of the past tense and I'm giving a present tense advice, right? So I'm purposely doing that. With the so, I highly recommend, with the language that I'm using, I'm stepping out and now giving the advice. I could also break it up and do it in a completely different paragraph. After party at a pension. Dancing is an important or an essential part of my life, and I couldn't imagine a wedding without a dance floor. I think that's the best part I miss the most when it comes that's the part I miss the most when it comes to weddings in Korea. But worry not, you can get a pension to satisfy your itchy feet. I didn't want to use dancing again. I wanted to use something different. So the place we had booked to have our ceremony was a perfect location for us. The place we had booked and the party night. the place we had booked, let's say the place we had booked for the party was the perfect location. We notified the host and agreed on a price and the appropriate conditions for having a party. So we made an e-invite, and it was really easy to communicate with guests during that time. Easy to inform guests and upload directions and addresses. We were also able to save time and money in doing so. I can't remember what the app was used, but I'll ask my husband a little bit later. Oh, look at this bad boy of a hard sentence. BBQ and snacks. If, like us, your pension is in the middle of nowhere with no stores, marts, or restaurants, having a barbecue is an inexpensive way to feed your guests. The day before our wedding, we went to Costco and bought what is it saying? If, like us, your pension is in the middle of nowhere, no stores, marts, or restaurants, having a barbecue is an inexpensive way to feed your guests. The day before our wedding, we went to Costco, bought an assortment of meats. In the end, we had too much. Ramyeon. It's just, I like using ramyeon instead of noodles or ramen. Drinks and desserts. We forgot to assign someone to take care of the food, but a few people organized themselves to cook and share the food. In the end, we had so much leftover food that we ended up giving it away. So that was a really great way to just have like our guests eat and be merry, and we had to think of that because we were inviting people somewhere very far. A lot of them are, you know, foreigners that live in Korea, and they didn't have any means of transportation, so they rented cars so that they could drive to the location. So we thought the least we could do is make sure that we have enough food and drink, and the easiest way to do that was to bulk buy in Costco. Another highlight of the night was the fireworks. We set up the fireworks in the pension's garden and watched as they dazzled the night sky. It was a moment when everyone came out and just watched the sky as it lit up. Yeah, it's nice and easy. We brought them. We bought them. You know, I think I said we bought them at Daiso, and they didn't cost an arm and a leg. If it's not possible to use fireworks, then try sparklers instead. You can take some really great pictures with them too. Again, I've come out of the past tense and into the present tense to give some advice, but as you can see, when I was reading it, it was a bit not smooth, so I'm gonna have to take a look at that sentence again. Create an inexpensive photo zone with cheap party decorations at Daiso. Yeah, that's present tense, so maybe I should have a little think about that. I love their gold curtains that could be hung and taken down easily. You can also purchase silly props such as wigs, glasses, and moustaches to encourage guests to take silly pictures, which makes for the best images. Maybe we can just take that out. You can place some disposable cameras around the room for people to shoot away. You won't know what the picture looks like until they are printed, but it will be a fun way to discover what your guests have been up to during the night. Now, in this paragraph, I've gone to present tense, and I feel like it's way too different to everything else that I've written so far, which has been past, like telling of the story or what happened. I feel like it's too different to all the other texts. So for the photo zone, I feel like I should go back, have a little bit more of a look at it in a deeper sense, make sure that I follow the same pattern that I have with the other paragraphs. Conclusion, I said you really can have it all when it comes to weddings in Korea. It will be so worth it in the end, and your guests will thank you for it. A year later, we still talk about our wedding and the infamous after party. It was an opportunity for us to be free to enjoy each other's company after having a very tough and isolated year. Maybe I can say, so what are you waiting for? Start planning the best wedding now. It's very cheesy, but okay. But that's it for the kind of basic look at it. Now, what are the next steps that I'm gonna do? I need to give it a couple of days so that my mind will feel fresh when I look at it again. I can look at it with a more critical eye. I need to make sure that this paragraph follows that same pattern. So I need to rethink how I'm gonna introduce that, or whether I can take it out. I also need to cut it down because, as you can see, it's very wordy, it's very big, and blog posts are supposed to be easy to read, short paragraphs. So I want to follow that because I want as many people to be drawn to reading the blog post as possible. So still a bit of editing left to do. When I edit it next, it will be good for me to print it out. I shouldn't edit it again looking at the computer, and I should do the backwards method. So starting from the conclusion, going all the way up, checking for mistakes and seeing where the flow doesn't really make any sense. And also sharing it with a friend and asking for their opinion and their advice. Now, where to post a blog post? I think there is no point of writing something and then just keeping it. It's good to share. Share your work, and even if you just put it out there, I think you should put it out there. I love the fact that you can write for yourself, but I think sharing is also really good. So for me, I'm currently sharing my stuff on the Korean expat community for national disasters. This is for a friend specifically asked me to do this, and I did the blog post that I wrote up last week, 6 upcycling facts everyone thinks are true. Already has 14 views. Maybe 5 of those were me going back and forth and checking that everything seemed right. So, I wrote it up. And I did put some pictures, but I thought it would come out, but it didn't come out. So there you go. I'm sharing it, and it's been a really, really good exercise. One last tip that I realized, because I've been learning Korean language, and look at this is my Korean writing book, and what I've been trying to do is journaling. But sometimes it can be really hard because I don't know a lot of vocabulary, or I don't really know what is missing. So what I found to be helpful was, let me go to Google Translate. I'm not going to do Korean to English. I'm going to do Korean to French. I'm going to do English to French. I'm going to do French. Or do I have to do it in Korean? English to French. Okay, so I'm going to write a sentence. Today I want to work on my writing video. Aujourd'hui, je veux travailler sur ma vidéo d'écriture. So I know how to speak French. So what is helpful is take your English text and put it in a translator to translate it into your mother tongue. and then see if it makes sense. Now, obviously, you know, sometimes things, you know, the translate is not perfect, but what I saw is when I did that with Korean, so I wrote some Korean sentences, translated it into English, and then it translated really weird. I wanted to say something like, me and my friends went out for dinner, but I was writing, my friends and I ate each other, or I ate my friends at dinner, or some weird stuff like that. So copy and paste your writing into a translator to translate it from English to your mother tongue. So in this case, my students, it would be Korean, and then see if it's flowing and it makes sense in Korean. That might be an indicator of where you may have had a mistake, or where something may not really flow as well. That's one tip that I'm using, and that's helping me to kind of improve my Korean writing skills as well. As well as that, if you use a grammar checker, the mistakes that are often, for me, example, you saw a lot of my sentences were too long and too complex, and I needed to make them shorter and break them down. Another way to check for kind of really complicated sentences, if you want to write in simple ways, is Hemingway Editor. If you go here, paste your work in, it would also tell you, can you see it's telling me where those sentences are long and would be hard for the reader, and so I need to work on them. Like this one is like, no. It's a good indicator for what is a no-no, and I need to change and I need to work on. So these are all things that you can do, and as you do them, you get better. Now, if you want to write hard, complicated sentences, that is absolutely fine, but in thinking about the reader, I want as many people as possible to read, and I want to make it simple. So I'm okay to break these down and make them more understandable and more simpler. One thing to note about Hemingway is that Hemingway's the focus of Hemingway was to write very simple sentences. So that's why you're going to be encouraged to reduce, to make it less difficult and easier to read. But again, use some judgment. These are suggestions, but they're not the be all and end all of everything. All right, that is the end of this very long video. I hope that by going through this editing process with me, you've picked up some things, you've picked up some tips. I hope that you're encouraged to use grammar checkers, but don't stop there. Make sure that you look at it yourself afterwards. Give it some time, some hours, some days. Make sure that you get other people involved. Make sure that you listen to your writing, or read it out loud, or listen to it being read to you. See if you can pick up some mistakes, if you can work on it, make it flow, make it better. If you do that, your writing will so improve, and you know, you can share your ideas more confidently. So thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a big thumbs up, and I shall see you next time. For my students, it will be our last video of the semester. Looking forward to it, looking forward to the long winter break. And so yeah, I'll see you next time. Thank you very much for today. Bye bye.